Shifting focus now to the United States, where Donald Trump is facing growing political pressure after a series of election setbacks and warning signs for his party ahead of America's midterm elections. The recent voter swings and the Democratic gains in key elections are raising alarm bells within the Republican ranks, especially after a shock result in Texas. Trump had sounded confident, urging his supporters to turn out for the Republican candidate in a state Senate race in Texas. But then just a day later, the Democrats won. And this is despite the fact that Trump had carried that district by 17 points in the year 2024. And after the loss, the president played it down, calling it just a local race and saying he was not involved. But then the numbers tell you a completely different story. The Texas result showed a 30-point swing towards Democrats, a shift that even Republican leaders say cannot be ignored. The Florida governor, meanwhile, called it a warning sign for the party. And the political experts agree, by the way. They say that the result exposes real vulnerabilities for Trump's Republicans, and the problems may not be temporary. You see, Texas is not an isolated case. In Minnesota, for example, Democratic candidates won with 95% of the vote. In Tennessee, Republican margins shrank by more than 12 points. In Virginia, meanwhile, Democrats swept key state races. Together, these results pointing to a pattern and growing voter dissatisfaction with the Republican Party. What could be the reason behind this is the immediate question then. Analysts are saying that one major factor is the cost of living. Many Americans continue to struggle with high prices for food, housing, energy, and they say Trump appears increasingly focused on foreign policy and personal projects rather than actual daily economic pressures. In fact, the new Gallup data is showing just how deep the public anxiety has actually become. About 1/3 of Americans now say politics and government are the biggest problem facing the country. And that makes the US among the most politically anxious countries in the world. Not just that, the poll also revealing a sharp generational divide. Americans under 35, the youth, are most worried about affordability, about food, rent, housing. While the older Americans, meanwhile, are more concerned about democracy and governance. And this mix of economic stress plus political distrust can destabilize democratic systems. On the right, public criticism of Trump has remained rare, but some former allies are breaking ranks. Former Congresswoman, meanwhile, Marjorie Taylor Greene, has accused Trump of abandoning his populist base and serving big donors, a sign, in a way, of growing cracks within the MAGA movement. And Trump, for his part, says his party can defy history. Traditionally, the party in power loses seats in midterms, but then Trump insists his record will break that pattern. In fact, he suggested that any losses would be due to bias or fraud. He even called for federal control of the elections in some states, despite the Constitution giving that power to the states. Still, there is one bright spot for the Republicans. The party has more than $95 million in campaign funds, and that is far more than the Democrats' war chest, a key difference here. But then, can money alone help Trump's party overcome the voter frustration? That remains to be seen. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.